We're working with our equipment problems here. This is Lee, and we're on the Game of Tongues. And we're working on speech anxiety. And right now, we are working with AMER. And he is, let's see, he lives in Bosnia. He's 29. He's a software developer and an electrical engineer. And he's been stuttering since age 7. And we've Skyped a number of times, and he has been reported feeling better with less anxiety. In June, he reported no bad incidents, and in July, early July, reported no bad incidents in the last 2 weeks. He'd been reading aloud, doing his auto-suggestions, and practicing the crutches, using number 4, putting something in front of the feared word, a sound or other words, and jamming the feared word into it. He'd been doing that, and that had been helping quite a bit. and in the middle of July, I made a note that it appeared to me that he was using quite a few of the crutches, not just number 4, which is great. And he reported on the 17th of July no bad incidents and said that his life was better. And he was speaking more spontaneously, no gaps. I urged him to modulate more because he seemed to be pretty much talking in a single tone, in a monotone, and it would be more interesting if he would put more emphasis on some words and syllables than on others. So he said he would try to do that. He said that the last bad incident had been 3 to 4 weeks ago. And then on July 24th, he reported again no bad incidents, now 4 to 5 weeks. He has an occasional stumble, but we distinguish a stumble from a bad incident by saying a stumble doesn't appear to be a disability. It's just messing up on your speech, which most people do quite a bit during the course of a normal day. So we try not to dwell on those, because speech isn't perfect any more than life, and we have to accept making stumbles here and there. We all do it, and there's no point in dwelling on it. So now the question is, since the last time we talked to Mayor, has your speech been better or worse or the same?
It has been actually the same.
Okay. And but then I would quickly add, have you had a bad incident in the last week?
Actually, no bad incidents, but I maybe had, few more small stumbles than, usual in the past, maybe.
All right, let's define stumble.
Yeah, well, I can, describe in short, actually, the two situations that I had. The first situation is I was in front of the, elevator, in the building where my company is located. And suddenly, actually, door opened, and one, woman was actually there asking me for, the floor of some, aesthetical surgery, clinic, which was eventually in the same, building. So she actually asked me which floor is this, aesthetical surgery company office, and I, didn't actually know answer, but I was in a bit of the, maybe small, shock, and I made, the pause of the few seconds. I think that was some kind of attack of the, of the state.
Question.
Okay.
Question. What was the reason for your pause?
I don't know, honestly, that was kind of, automatic actually response. I was like, the confused, a bit confused, a
Well,
bit
that's
surprised.
not, but that has nothing to do with stuttering.
Yeah, probably, but that actually reminded me of some situations from the past that I had that were, longer,
Uh,
blocks in similar situations. But that is just, I actually don't say that was, the
I
block or
I
something
think as
that
long as you
was.
cannot afford to
Uh-huh.
count confusion or wandering thoughts or um, you know a mental lapse. You cannot tie that to a speech problem. That is simply that is not a stump. That is not a stutter. It's not a block. It's not a pause for fear that you can't say a word. It's simply you drew a blank, your thought, or you don't remember something. Um, Most of us forget things all the time. Where did I leave my keys? Where did I put my sunglasses down? Most of us forget things all the time. And this causes, I mean, but these things should in no way be tied to our speech. It's just those things happen, and you should not be in any way, harsh on yourself for that kind of thing. If you think you have a lapse, if your memory isn't what you want it to be, there are books and programs online that you can do to improve your memory. And if you feel like that's an issue, you should do it. Maybe it's not an issue, but whatever the issues are, they're certainly not speech. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't. It's not you. If I sat around thinking, well, I still have stutter threats on occasion, so I should sit around and worry about my speech. Why? I don't have any problem speaking. Why should I worry about it? So I have a threat. So what? I knock it down. It's gone. I beat it. I don't. It doesn't bother me. I'm not so. But as I often say, part of the cure is admitting that I've stopped stuttering. I
Mm-hmm.
have. I never stutter, and I'm not afraid of it either because I can
Mm-hmm.
always beat it. But that doesn't mean I don't have the thoughts once in a while. I do, but I don't care. I ignore them and I replace them with another thought. I love to speak. I love to speak. I love to speak. I love to say my name. That's what I. That's something to replace it with. I do love to speak. I enjoy speaking. It's fun. So, but part of the solution and the end game is accepting the fact that we're there.
Mm-hmm.
If we have some other problem, then that's fine. If we want to work on public speaking or writing or improve our memories or our crossword puzzle skills or something else, that's fine. But these are separate subjects from speech. It's just important for you to give yourself credit for where you are. You speak great. I mean, can you speak better? Of course, everybody can. Can you be more expressive, more exciting in your speech? Sure. Can you improve your vocabulary? Of course. But your speech is fine. So you have to, don't plant problems by saying, "Well, I had a little bit of an issue. I had a pause, or I had a stumble, or I said I left my book in the car." That's my mind is working faster than my mouth, or vice versa. It's not stuttering because I'm afraid of, because I'm having difficulty saying a word. I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not having a difficulty. So it's the solution is for you to be taking credit for where you are. And if you want to work on improving your speaking, great. Let's work on extreme pronunciation. Let's work on modulation. Let's improve our vocabularies. Whatever. That's a different subject than stuttering and speech anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Your speech anxieties are Zippo, as far as I can see. Um, How much do you think about your speech in the average hour now?
I don't know, very, very, I would say actually small.
Close
Because
to zero.
yeah.
And that is the important thing. That
Mhm.
is the important thing.
I think that actually you said probably now the actually key to resolving it finally.
I think
Maybe the only situation, the only misperception for myself is that I actually give too much, thoughts to some, small, stumbles, or even in situations where it is, not, classic block, classic stutter. And probably when those actually thoughts came in, oh, it happened, oh, this and that, maybe I should say to myself auto suggestion for, a few minutes in the next weeks, so I should see how it works, because I thought that in the recovery process for each stutterer it is from utmost importance, as you said, that we admit that we actually beat stuttering and that we are stutter free. But then there are always some situations where people have small stumbles, and I think that stutterers in the general makes a too much big deal out of it, including me.
I think that's very true. I think it's
So
very true.
so I think that is maybe very important to actually to tackle this by saying auto suggestions, positive auto suggestions to myself each time when I had such small situation where I'm maybe not so clear like I had in the past week. I was ordering in the restaurant in the fast food, and I did actually not stutter, but I was not so clear while I was speaking, and then actually the lady on the other side said, please repeat, I actually didn't understand you totally. So that
Okay.
may be situations when my self-confidence can be a bit maybe boiled down, but I think, as I've already said, from utmost importance in these situations is maybe that I give myself auto suggestions and just move the thought from it.
I can't remember the last time that I heard you stutter. I think it was in May.
Mhm.
And it's been June and July. It'll be August tomorrow. It'll be August 1. I really think that um, you qualify. Look, here. Let me ask you this: are you at this point? Do you feel like anytime you get a stutter threat that you know ways to avoid stuttering or blocking? Well,
I feel like that, of course, not completely.
you come on, give me a break. Give me a
I
break.
I
Look, nothing's
feel
perfect, man.
I
Nothing.
feel
What do you mean not completely? You never stutter, man. And so
I don't have
I can't believe that you don't think
I
that
don't have
inside your heart that you don't think and know I can avoid a stutter, any stutter I want to. I haven't stuttered in 4 to 5 weeks minimum, and
yeah.
I I know, and that by itself proves that I know how to beat it if it comes up. And so I'm just going to accept the fact that's part of it too. You need to be willing to accept the fact that your conduct, your speech has proven more than a month, for more than a month, probably close to 2 months, that you don't stutter anymore and you don't block anymore, and that your conduct shows that therefore you know how to avoid it. And you further have told me you're almost not thinking about your speech at all, like a zero. Well,
Yeah,
this is a guy who should help other stutterers by posting. Let us post a success story. You know, you write it, and I tweak it, or I write what I've found from your notes and give it to you, and you rewrite it, and we post it. You know,
mhm,
and we put it up there because I think you need to do that. You need to share your story because that helps other people. That's what
yeah,
it does. And so,
yeah,
I'm trying to help you. Okay. I mean, I don't have to do this, and you don't have to do it. You don't have to do it either. But I mean, I'm doing it because I want to help you. And what way you can help somebody else? First thing you can do is post a success story. And when do you post that? When you haven't. We have two rules. One, no bad incidents in a month or so, a month or 4 weeks, and the ability to say I know how to avoid stutters. I mean, there's so many things I can do. Stopping talking, talking less, linking words, extreme pronunciation. I got a million crutches to use on an isolated word here or there. When
mhm,
I'm under pressure, I talk a bit less, but I'm still talking, and life is good. I mean, that's it. That's when we're done. I mean, it's not a perfect planet, it's not a perfect life, and our speech isn't perfect either. But
mhm.
it's pretty darn good. Yours is pretty darn good, and so is mine. So, I mean,
Yeah, it's actually true that in the past, maybe around, I think, 2 months, I actually didn't have any, fears almost
that's right.
regarding,
No fears in 2 months.
regarding speaking, maybe month and a half or something like that, or 2 months.
Don't
So
weasel.
I,
Don't try and
I,
squirm out of it. Shame. Don't you try and cut back on me. Stop it. It's
yeah,
2 months.
yeah. Basically, my speech is far, far improved.
It
Is
sure is.
actually on the other, actually level, the comparing to, before. And
Exactly.
probably I would, of course, want to say that I can, avoid any block when it comes. But I always like to feel it more, actually longer, to make more, stabilization in my speech, if I could say it like that.
How are you
To
doing? How are you doing on the phone these days, Amer?
fine, very good.
Good. Good on the phone too. That's great.
And
Um,
tomorrow again, I would have a Toastmasters meeting, so we will see how it will go. The past two meetings went actually great, great, really.
so when are you doing Toastmasters?
It's actually tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow.
Mhm.
Aha. Okay, so
I
you're giving it. Are you giving a talk?
Well, basically not. No, I'm not giving a talk, but I will speak on the table topics. I will be evaluator for one speech, so I will speak a lot of the time, basically.
There you go. There you go.
And we
And
will see.
you're gonna do just fine. You're gonna do very good. I know you will.
Yeah, before actually the sessions I had, actually the big fear before Toastmasters. But then, since we started working in the last, I think, two Toastmasters meeting, I didn't have actually any fear almost. I just have some positive excitement around everything. But actually, no one is speaking fear, no one is speaking anxiety, and so that I would like also to speak more about voice modulation that you have mentioned in the start of our session. In the last maybe week or two, I've been actually trying to speak consciously more interesting, to be actually more focused, more emphasizing the topic, and to show more feelings. Of course, again, I actually didn't reach that level when I automatically speak with voice modulation, when I speak with actually vocal variety and so on. I still had to do it, deliberately. But I guess the more time is, of course, needed to do that. There are also sometimes situations where I'm tired, exhausted, and I don't have so much, will to, speak. So in that scenarios, I speak again in some, monotone voice because I don't have, the strength, motivation to be funny while speaking, at that moment.
That's right. That's right. Um, what was you if you're thinking back on your life? Um, what is what can you remember? I can tell you the worst incident I ever had, and I'm not going to. It's in my book. I had a lot of incidents that were
Hmm.
very embarrassing, but that one was the worst. Do you have any incident in your life that you thought was the worst? I mean, it was just stood out to you as that was the benchmark of that was the worst one. Do you have anything like that?
Yeah, sure. That was actually when I was in, high school, at the start of my high school, and we were introducing ourselves in front of the, teacher and the 13 other, kids in the class, the teenagers. So when I actually stood up to, introduce myself, I started to, stutter on my name,
Yeah,
and that was stutter maybe 4 or 5 seconds, and the kids started to actually laughing me.
yeah,
And that's the period in my life when my speech got, worse, much worse than actually before.
yeah.
And that's probably the, hardest period in my life regarding my speech, high school, and maybe part of the, college.
Uh huh. So
So that's
okay,
definitely that situation.
yeah. And since you got out of school,
Hmm.
of course, you weren't in situations normally where you had to introduce yourself in front of groups, correct?
Yeah, sure.
So you didn't you weren't put in those extreme pressure situations, so
Hmm.
you had less reason to have a disastrous experience. But you still had experiences you didn't like and you still had problems you didn't like, and that's why you ended up with us, with my
Hmm.
book and with me, you know.
Hmm.
Have you had um I don't see in my notes on you anything about prior therapy. Oh yes, yeah, I do have. Yes, I see that you do have some prior um, experience, and but you still came to us. So I guess um, whatever it is you had didn't do the trick for you.
Yeah, didn't I had actually various therapies, and also regarding your, first part of the question, I had also after my, college, I had also few incidents which were, actually not so much actually debilitating as, the one that I, actually mentioned, but actually were, you know, actually almost huge incidents. I had, for example, to, introduce in my company when when there were, new manager in my, team. So all of us were introducing ourselves, and that is also when I stuttered a bit. Not so much as them, but it was also, how did you call it? This I actually, appeared disabled. And after that, there were few anxieties, fear, and so on. But I have to say that my speech improved and my anxiety diminished hugely after
Mm-hmm.
these sessions. And regarding previous therapies, I was on the Barbara Dams therapy, and it helped me to actually feel how it is when I speak in the flow and without any thinking, any planning. But again, the fear stayed with me, and I was not able to actually use or apply technique in the real time, in the actually real life situation. And
Mm-hmm.
then before that, I was also working with John actually Harrison, but we were mostly working on the public speaking and on the vocal variety, body language, and all that stuff. I was working with him over Skype, and it was quite useful. And before that, I had a few NLP treatments, neuro linguistic programming, with the guy called actually John Barton. He's also from the USA. But
Uh-huh.
that helped me to feel good maybe a day or two after the session. But I didn't have some lasting effect.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, in my early childhood, I was on the classic speech therapy in a lab here in Sarajevo that didn't help me at all. And I was 2 times on the hypnosis when I was 14, and again when I was 26, I think 25, 26.
Um, did someone hypnotize you, or did you hypnotize yourself?
No, someone hypnotized me.
Uh-huh. Okay. Um,
And I was also applying some self-help techniques like relaxation techniques, NLP patterns, visualizations, actually visualizing myself while I speak fluently and all that stuff. I was also doing meditation, yoga for some time, and so on. I've actually been trying, many things in the past couple of years, maybe 3 years or so. I was also using any opportunity to speak, call on the phone whenever I can, um, participating in the stuttering hangouts, and after that in the Toastmasters and so on.
why is it you think that my book and Skyping with me helped you stop stuttering and get over the fear of it and get to the point you are now where you feel like you basically beaten it? What is it that you learned from my book and or from Skyping with me that made that difference? Can you tell us what those things were?
Yeah, well, I have learned, first of all, a sole fact that you are, the person who, stuttered, have the same issue, had the same issue, was the thing that actually made me, confident that you are, the person who can, of course, help. Then, from techniques, of course, the crutches are, I think, really useful. As I've been saying, I'm not using crutches so much, so often. But the sole fact that I actually know more than 10 ways how to, avoid block, how to maybe, the postpone situation, lessen the fear, is, huge self-confidence booster and anxiety killer. Of course, speech anxiety killer. Then auto suggestions, I think, were also really useful because I've been also doing auto suggestions sometimes in the past, maybe 5 years ago or something. But this auto suggestion, when I have to say each sentence in different way, and I have to say it in the way that I am actually fully in it, that I feel. I really feel and really think while I'm saying. That was also helpful. And of course, reading aloud was so I didn't have any any therapy or coaching in the past that was so intensive as actually this was. Because each day I've been working for hour and maybe half or something like that on my speech.
Uh-huh.
Basically, 2 times auto suggestion plus reading aloud, practicing crutches, that would be hour and half.
If you were called to get up in front of a group today or tomorrow or any other time and introduce yourself and so forth, um, would you use crutches to do that, or would you? Or what would you do? How would you handle that?
Well, I think that in the first place, the fear would be much lower than actually before. With default fear in some situation like that, because I had in the Toastmasters and so on, I had a lot of situations where when I was introducing myself, and I actually do that successfully in the stuttering hangouts, in the Toastmasters, in all situations. So a lot positive experiences actually reshaped my thinking and feeling in that situation. Of course, there is still some small uncomfort, as it is usually
So,
for
do you
involved.
think that it's the reading aloud and hearing yourself be fluent, coupled with the auto suggestions, where you've repeated the same thing in a lot of different ways and done it with passion and so forth, that this has kind of reprogrammed your mind to the point that that's the primary thing that has reduced the fear and made it possible for you to speak without stuttering? Do you think
Yeah,
that's
that
the main reason?
yeah, actually, that was one of the primary things. But I would also add that by the far most important, for me, were those positive experiences. Because when I have positive experiences giving a speech in Toastmasters, speaking at my office, speak or ordering in cafe maybe 10 times in a row without fear, without stuttering, without anything, that is actually the best auto
Yes,
suggestion.
but you had to. But the the actual event of not doing it, of course, of not stuttering and of
Yeah,
avoiding it, that the more you do that, the less fear you have, and the easier it gets, and so forth.
yeah,
But there's something that reduced the fear, and I was trying to get at that.
yeah. Then
Yes, it's no
correct.
question. Something has to start that snowball moving. Once it's moving, yes, the events further reduce the fear. But the thing that got the snowball moving would
Mhm.
be hearing yourself, from what you've told me over the period of time and somewhat today. It's the reading aloud and hearing yourself be fluent and doing your auto suggestions, and then talking less under pressure, making less mistakes, and using crutches in some cases.
Yes, correct.
Um,
And also in general, I
Hold
would
on.
before said speaking as much as I, can. I think that is also, must.
Say that again.
Speaking as much as I, can. That also is, I think, the must for, each PVS.
Yes, I agree with that, but if you were stuttering when you did it, then it
Yeah.
would have been had a reverse effect. And so
Mhm.
I'm not. I realize the more that you speak without a problem, the easier it is to continue to do so. And
Yeah.
you've made that very clear, and I certainly understand that and believe it to be